Enshrouded is the brand new survival action RPG that has everyone talking, but if you're thinking about diving in, there's some pretty big things that I wish I knew before I started, and I wanted to use this video as a chance to impart that info onto you folks at home so you don't have to suffer like I did trying to figure everything out. You'll have all the information you need to give Enshrouded a proper go, and if you're still on the fence about purchasing or not, I did a full review just a few days ago that you can find linked in the description below. Like and subscribe for more stuff like this. This is all the things I wish I knew before getting started with Enshrouded. But before we jump in, a quick word from today's sponsor. I'd like to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Starbreeze, the publishers of The Tribe Must Survive. Set in a gloomy Lovecraftian Stone Age, this game will test your ability to manage a tribe, each with their own personalities, wants, and desires. You'll be put in charge of organizing tribe members to ensure they are collecting resources, building structures, researching improvements to their way of life, and ultimately ensuring their survival for as long as possible. This game is unforgiving, combining the best elements of survival and roguelike games across the genre. Now, you probably won't survive your first eclipse, but as you continue to experience the different events in The Tribe Must Survive and try new strategies to master them, you'll be better equipped for the next playthrough, and maybe, just maybe, you can do what it takes to ensure the survival of your tribe. You can wishlist The Tribe Must Survive on Steam right now by using my link down in the description, and what's more, the game will have a playable demo available during Steam Next Fest, running February 5th to February 12th, so you can give it a try for yourself and get a taste before it releases into early access on February 22nd. Click the link, wishlist the game, try the demo. You won't regret it. Buffs in Enshrouded stack together, and this can be incredibly useful when we're considering which potions to use for a given situation. Using an elixir may reduce your time in the shroud by 1 minute, for example, but a shroud survival flask boosts your time by 2 minutes, and since these stack, you come out 1 minute ahead of where you would have been, and that's with the bonus of 30% damage that the elixir provides. So long as you're careful, you should be able to run this combo of potions even when venturing into the shroud itself. In the very early stages of the game, you may be tempted to try and stack all 3 food buffs to maximize your stats, but your health regen at this time is naturally going to be a bit low, and you might not have access to potions just yet. With this in mind, it can be beneficial to only take 2 food buffs, leave 1 spot open, and carry around some berries for health regen at a moment's notice. Rather than using your pickaxe to mine out ground you want to build on at your base, instead use the construction hammer, open the advanced menu by pressing tab, and scroll down to the bottom of the menu. This gives you access to a terrain tool that can add and remove big plots of land for building purposes. Keep in mind that whilst this is fantastic for clearing space for building projects, a pickaxe will still get you more materials, so don't use the terrain tool to try and collect resources. For mining excursions in the early game, use honey and water to buff your total stamina and stamina regen. This will allow you to mine for longer periods without interruption. Lastly, if you find them, or you can make them, use a flask of the fell to give you another bonus 20 stamina on top. Don't neglect some of the quality of life skills on the skill tree. These reside inside the inner circle and can allow you to do things like mine more effectively, chop trees down faster, and other utility uses that are going to make your life easier outside of combat. Make sure you start a farm as soon as you can. Food buffs in Enshrouded are incredibly useful and will give you different buffs to suit your chosen skills and weapons of choice. But even more important than that is flax. Flax is going to be turned into linen, which is used in a whole lot of things later in the game. So starting off some farming early can help you stockpile this for later when you're going to need it most. You can find flax in Revelwood, which is directly north of the starting area. Just remember, things in this area are going to be higher level, so you'll need to be careful if you're going there early. Look out for blue flowers. These can then be used at a seed bed to grow seedlings and start your harvest at home. Carry some lockpicks with you at all times. You'll often come across doors or chests that you can use them on to access extra loot whilst exploring. Also, keep in mind that they can be crafted from your direct inventory with just 2 scrap metal. That said, if you do find yourselves without the supplies to craft a lockpick on the fly, or would just rather not spend the materials, remember that this is a voxel game, and often you can get around locked doors by simply destroying a wall or two with a pickaxe. You can even destroy some locked doors themselves to break them open. Destroying items of furniture and other objects whilst exploring can net you some nice little resource gains. This especially occurs to pots and urns that you'll find when exploring towers and flame sanctums. These can contain things like potions, for example, and if you want to preserve the durability of your weapon while smashing these objects to pieces, you can use your pickaxe to get through them instead. Enshrouded is chock full of hidden loot. Keep an eye out for things hidden behind bookcases, trapdoors that might not be immediately visible, or entrances covered up by dirt and rubble. You never know what you might find in the most unsuspecting little villages. Now, if you're like me, you want to collect everything there is to collect and read everything there is to read in a game like Enshrouded. However, if you're not a fan of reading notes in games, I totally understand. That said, it's still worth interacting with notes and stories when you find them when you're exploring. They'll give you some XP for your trouble, even if you just interact with them and then immediately back out. So yeah, gather all the notes you can find. They may also lead to side quests and hidden discoveries. Keep an eye out for anvils whilst you're exploring the wilds. You may find that thanks to all the combat you're doing, your weapons are going to be low on durability often. Interacting with one of these anvils will allow you to repair your equipment out in the field, and you'll be able to keep going for longer before heading back to your base. Even if you go for a melee build, make sure to bring a wand or a bow around with you in case you need to hit buttons that are out of reach for puzzles in order to get to extra loot. There are also certain fights in the game where ranged equipment isn't exactly a requirement, but does make things much easier for you. Certain weapons will be more effective against certain types of enemies in Enshrouded. For example, a weapon that does blunt damage will do more damage to skeletons, and fire damage will do more damage to most of the enemies in the Shroud biomes. Keep this in mind as you go further into the game, and try to keep a couple of weapons that you can alternate between for different fights. You can see when a weapon is doing more damage by the effective or resistant pop-ups showing with the damage numbers in combat. Now, if you want to compare gear, the game doesn't make this immediately obvious, but you can click on an armor piece in your character tab to compare with other pieces that fit the same slot to see their stats, and that's without having to move around your inventory all the time whilst doing so. Upgrading the flame at your first base location will give you access to more altars that you can place around the map. Even if you don't intend to use them for other bases, consider placing them at high locations around the map. You'll be able to use these much like the fast travel towers, giving you a way to get around quickly, and then you can glide down from the altar to cover even more distance. Flame sanctums and flame shrines can be interacted with more than once. You might think that after you've cleared them the first time, they can't be used again, but you'll notice that altars will be usable again if you visit them after some time has passed from your first visit. This allows you to collect sparks for upgrading your base, and this also applies to other points of interest like boss fights, allowing you to face off against enemies you've already killed with new weapons or ability combos if you want to. If you're hitting parts of the map where you find deadly shroud that looks like this red mist that almost instantly kills you when you step into it, don't worry. You might have missed this in the early stages of the game like I did, but essentially, upgrading the flame at your base will also upgrade your shroud passage level, which will allow you to enter new areas of the map and turn the red shroud into plain old regular blue shroud, which you can traverse a little easier. You can place altars to allow your teammates to fast travel to your location before then extinguishing the flame again. This works as a quick method of fast travel if you lose a teammate and want them to get back to you so you can continue as a group, or if you find something interesting that you weren't expecting, your team can then get to you quickly before pushing on. You may notice that traveling on a road in Enshrouded results in a small buff popping up. Essentially, you use less stamina when sprinting whilst on a road. Not only does this allow you to get to places faster, but you'll probably notice that following the designated route in Enshrouded will have the additional bonus of giving you the easiest path to where you want to go. Quite often there will be sheer cliff faces, enemies, or enshrouded areas to get through if you choose to stray off the beaten path. So that's just about it from me in this one, folks, but hopefully you found something in this video that's going to help you make your way through the beautiful world of Enshrouded. And if you have something you think I might have missed, feel free to share it down below in the comments. I'd love to make this a place where other players can pick up information about the game in advance to help them with their own playthroughs. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one.